evening. So nice to have everybody here. Hello, Leora. We'll get Natalie, Mazel Tov. Natalie is in Yerushalayim, and she just had a granddaughter. And I have to tell you, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. We have a few of our wonderful ladies actually in the in Eretz Israel, which is really incredible. And it's, you know, we've just got to say that everywhere that Hashem wants us to be is really where we are supposed to be right now, and to learn all the different lessons and everything that we need. So I thought, you know, what do we want to do here? We don't have to come up with any special titles, any special topics. Really what we want to be able to do is keep ourselves on the mark. Daniela Boyd, it's nice to see you. Can you believe it's nearly 2 years since we're in Eretz as well? I'm feeling like, oh my goodness, we really need to find a time and a way to get back very soon. So before we actually just start, I want to actually wish my dear friend Dalia Resnick Chaim Aruchim, and we'll be learning for Tzipora Bas Binyamin, and as well as today, I want to wish Anthony Levinson, Denise's husband, Chaim Aruchim, and we will learn for his father, Moshe Eliokim ben Shlomo Yitzchak. And they should just have Chaim Aruchim, and really everything we should just be able to learn and to grow. Ma, I was looking for you before, and now see that you're there. So thank you, Mom and David, for getting on. And always a real schus, a merit for me, certainly, to be able to say that I have my mother here together on screen, and more than that in Yerushalayim. And Deborah Kay, we missed you this week as well. Okay, so before we get myself into trouble, hello everybody personally, and it's lovely to be here, and it was lovely to see you, Sharon. So let's go. You know, our lives and everything that happens in our lives are supposed to be there to be able to teach us a message. Leora Gurvitz, I saw you just come on and move around. So good evening to you and Sharon. And everything that we do is supposed to have that we have a lesson that we are supposed to learn from. And there Deborah's come on to show me her face. I'm going to be in Manchester, please God, on Sunday. So then everything comes and teaches us a lesson, and the lessons that we're supposed to be learning from everything that we do, people that we meet, people that are around us, and every experience that we have. So I'm right now trying to work out why what happened to me today actually happened. So I'm going to share this with you, and then we're going to talk about a couple of different things and bring it all back together. So we know that generally I have a little bit of a busy lifestyle. I think my husband is very happy when he's sitting in his office and saying, well, just, you know, get on with it, do what you need to do, that you feel that you need to. And sometimes, you know, we don't choose things, but they happen. And I always say that Hashem comes and he chooses different people to do different things. And he offers you an opportunity. And he says, if you want to take it, take it. And I guess if you make that choice, when you weigh up the process of taking things and wanting to take them on, and it either happens or doesn't, that becomes our personal choice. Life is going to be our personal choice as long as we focus on what our destination actually is. So at 6 o'clock and at 6:15 and at 6:35, there were, I didn't even have my phone. It was off. It was on silent. I checked my diary for the day, and there was a message saying, where are you? Are you coming? And I was like, oh my gosh. And I look and I see that there's somebody had asked me to do a challah make for a group of bat mitzvah girls. And I forgot. Deborah, don't look so horrified and make me feel bad. I'm sure everybody's sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, you didn't. Well, I'm not going to tell you where and what, because my first thing was like, okay, I've got my apron on. I've got a double dough made because I was making it because somebody else was coming here to separate challah as a bat mitzvah girl. And I just sent out 3 trays of sushi to somebody's Sheva Brachas. And I had been before that at my gorgeous friend Dahlia's shiva. And I won't tell you like the whole day because you might get just tired thinking of it. But it makes me feel better knowing that I was actually at Ramon's school at 10 to 9 with a group of parents doing a drop-off and learning coffee morning at 10 to 9 after dropping Zevi at school. So there you go. And you sort of think, now, where do you have that space to even start your day calmly, to daven, to put life into perspective? And it's like, if you miss that moment, you've missed the moment. So I get into the car with my challah and my apron, and I phoned the person and I said, and I told her, she said, yeah, fine, go. So I go. And as I'm turning into one of the rooms, the road's blocked. So you've got to go around. And then she phones back and she said, you know what? They finished making, just leave it, don't worry. So I thought, you know what? As a personal thing, I'd love to just go and just tell them a little story, apologize and leave. And that's all. No, nothing. Anyway, she didn't phone back. So I thought, you know, it's often better to just leave things the way they want to do it. And then I thought to myself, I said, you know, you're doing all the apologizing, but actually it's their program. Any program that I run and I've got a speaker or somebody coming, like happened today, I phone to check, to confirm. We'll see you at this time, seeing you tomorrow, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. It was booked in 4 months ago, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. This morning, looking forward to seeing you later, lunchtime, any of the above. And that made me feel a little bit better. And then I'm thinking, but why? Then I let go. And I said, you know, we have no idea of what the plan is. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was to teach them a lesson that actually in that shul and in that organization, you could do it yourself. Maybe that was their lesson for them that they had to. And then what was mine? So I've got a few lessons that I can learn. And the one is that don't try and pack in more than you think that you can pack in. Chava, thank you. That's my sourdough starter lady. Okay. So if anybody ever gets or has any of my sourdough, and the rye sourdough, I'm going to try, but I decided you got to mix half and half. But that's my sourdough friend. Okay. And people are very passionate about sourdough starters, by the way. Okay. How good is your sourdough starter? So we can do that too. So my sourdough. So I've got 4 loads of bread on and my sourdough starter's been fed. So for anybody that hasn't fed your sourdough starter, I'm just saying that to you now so that you don't forget to feed your starter and later think, oh, I haven't done it. Okay, that's why I put that in for you. But what is our lesson? And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Firstly, maybe put a few less things into the diary. Choose what you can put in and when and how. And Thursday nights, actually, you know, it's kind of sacred. Thursday nights have become our Thursday night. And I'll just tell you right now that for next week, we have Rebbetzen Juravel coming back from the woman who wrote the book of Sphere in Our Lives. And so make sure that you're already planned this week for next week. I also, when we confirmed the date, I had missed a week, and this was this week that I'd missed. So we didn't have a speaker for this week. And I said, okay, I'll share some of my own personal learning. And then Hashem sent me this really big lesson. And I thought, now what? Now we've got to share how we are actually all human. But we have to remind ourselves that it's okay. It's okay to be able to put things in and then to stop and say, what do I do now? Hashem, what did he want me to learn? Is there a humility lesson here? I don't want to feel arrogant and say, one, they phone and remind me. So I said, I wonder why they didn't phone to remind me. Okay. It's a place of how we think about it. And I actually said to the Rebbetzen of the place, I said, actually, I'm mortified, but I can't do anything about it now, excepting apologize. And you can't do anything else about it, excepting forgive, right? Because that's what we all need in this world. We all need to be looking, and maybe there's somebody else that's going to have done something that's going to come into my space and is going to say, okay, Joanne, just remember what happened to you today, right? Let's see where we come from. So a couple of weeks ago, I think maybe last week even, I got this very, very beautiful, and I've shared it with some of you already, but this very beautiful video clip from Rav Meir Simcha Sperling. He's actually got a very lovely voice and way of sharing. And he tells a story about how he missed the bus when he was standing at Kever Rachel. And I have to tell you, the first thing that you hear this is you think, okay, I want to be at Kever Rachel. So just so that you know, yes, last night and the Wednesday before, I feel that I was technically at Kever Rachel, okay? Because in our mother and daughter Bat Mitzvah program, we spoke about our four mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, and we did a canvas picture of painting of Kever Rachel. So when I heard this story again, it's kind of like, okay, Hashem wants you to share this story. And Rabbi Meir Simcha says, Rabbi Sperling says, he says, you know, he missed the bus. Now, you can hitch from there, but it's not exactly the safest neighborhood in town. So you've got to know that you've got to get a lift and take a ride from only with inside the walls of Kever Rachel, so that you make sure that you go with one of ours home. Anyway, he puts out his hand and then somebody stops for him and the man says to him, where are you going? And, you know, I'm trying to think exactly where he was going and now I can't remember what the place is, but he was going and the man says, great, I'll take you. It's on the way. It's on my way. And he says, well, where'd you live? And he tells him. And he says, no, that's not on your way at all. Once you get me to the main road, you'll drop me off there and I'll hitch another lift or I will get the bus. And you can really, what do you have to go out of your way for? He says, I'm not going out of my way. I'm on the way. I'm on my way. And he stops and he says, I'm on my way because really, we're all on the way. This is the way that we go to Olam Haba. This is the way that we go to the next world. We're collecting up everything that we're doing here. For everything that we want to have and be part of us, we're doing it here. Whatever I do here in this world is something that is taking me to the next place, to the next world. Every positive commandment that I'm going to pick up, every mitzvah that I pick up here, that I'm doing. Why am I doing it? I'm doing it because it's getting filled into my bag. It's ticking the boxes. Every time Hashem sees one little thing that we do, he puts that there, he holds it, he remembers absolutely everything. So what is it really? He's on his way. He's on his way taking another Jew safely back to his home. Because why? It's a mitzvah. It's a positive act of chesed. And therefore, he's in the right direction. That is his direction. What's our direction? What are we thinking of? How much more calm would it be in our lives if we actually see that everything that goes right and sometimes the things that go wrong is a perspective in how we deal with it and what we say and how we react to it, because that's taking us on our way. Every time I am faced with another challenge and I stop and I say in the calm, I say, it's okay. It's amazing how when I drop things these days in my house, every now and again, every now and again. And I was thinking earlier, like I'm quickly getting the flour and the flour in and the next bag and bag number 1 and bag number 2 and bag number 3 and then bag number 4. And then there's the sourdough. That has a separate category. Okay. So we've got 3 kilos for one bracha, 3 kilos for the next bracha. And then I try and make another bracha having just enough, but otherwise I'll just separate that lot of my sourdough out. It's a separate entity. But each one is a place that's on the way, because my focus is a focus that says, I'm doing this. Why? Because Hashem really wants me to be doing it. And I came back from being on my way to a place that I was supposed to be on my way to an hour and a half earlier. And the young lady that I had told, lovely Ruby Cobran, I'd said to Ruby, come on, 2 weeks ago when she was bat mitzvah, today is your birthday. I want you to come and make a bracha on the challah. I want you to separate the challah and make a bracha. Anyway, she couldn't make it then and it didn't work last week, but this week she could do it. So she was coming. We planned that she was coming, but I shouldn't have really been here because I should have been in the other place that I was supposed to be with my dough. And as we stood and I put this big bag of dough, and I thought, here's an opportunity for a young, beautiful bat mitzvah girl to really feel that she's matured and old enough now to make a bracha on separating the challah. Separating the challah is one of the most beautiful mitzvahs that a Jewish woman does. Because what does it do? It nurtures. It shares and feeds. And we share and nurture and feed. And here's a young girl, and I wish her mazel tov. And she says her bracha, and we all say amen. And we pray that every Jewish woman should be focused in finding her inner strength and her place, that she's able to carry it forward, that she's able to be there to make a difference in the world. Because every Jewish woman makes a difference in the world, because she becomes the best that she can be in the capacity that she can be. And we have to remind ourselves that every moment that we have in the day, to just refocus on the positivity and refocus on something that says, I have a goal. I have an agenda. You know, my goal and my agenda is becoming close to Hashem. Do you know what my goal and my agenda is? That in Mirza Hashem at 120, and we hope Mashiach rather comes before that I'm going to be able to take my letters of my name, for those that have been with us on Thursday mornings, add the 1 and the 1 and the 2, know that I've got an Ayin, a Lamed, and a Yud, and the energy and the power of bringing Hashem into the world is awesome. All we have to do is focus and know that we're going in the right direction. Right, Sarah? That's to you, Karen Lamb, since she's got her name now as Sarah. That's where we are. That is where we focused. And it's no more beautiful time. There is absolutely significance in every single thing we do. In the moment that a person is born, that a baby girl is born, and we wait to hear the princess's name. She hasn't been named yet, has she, Natalie? She's been named?
Yes, she isn't. Her name's
What's her name?
Chana Liba.
Chana Liba.
Chana Liba. They're calling her Chana.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And her heart should always be a heart that connects to the prayers and the tefillahs of Chana and goes straight up. And Hashem should always answer yes, and it should always be l'tova.
Amen.
So the power and the energy, okay, of what we have here, just to remind ourselves, stay focused. We lose focus, and what happens? Sorry, 1 second. I'm just going to hear. Okay, so close it already. Okay. If we lose focus, we don't know which direction we're going in. If we're not focused, if we know, and you had to put into your phone, you know, how many times do we put on Waze? How many times do we put Waze on? Anybody put Waze on? Like, you know where you're going. Why do we put Waze on? Do you know why I put Waze on? So it'll get me there quickest. Okay, so in case there's traffic, in case there's that, I've got to find out which is the quickest way. So I had a really interesting travel once to a wedding, and we're going somewhere near Heathrow, and we were giving Rabbi Tats a lift, and we put on Waze. The traffic was absolutely awful, and it's telling us that the traffic time and everything's going up, and we're just watching, and then Waze makes a call and tells us to go a different way. However, imagine that. The direction you're going is south. And now the direction's telling you to go north. And you know what? We followed Waze. Because the quicker way of getting to our destination was to go north and then to move around and go back to the place, and then we would be able to get back to the real direction we were going in. But we trusted it. We trusted Waze, and we went exactly the opposite direction to where we were going. And I said to Rabbi Tatz, I said, isn't it phenomenal? Imagine if every Jew in the world would say, it doesn't matter what I have to do, how I have to do, when I have to do, but if the Torah tells me to go that way, to do this or to do that, I just listen. Imagine if we would trust our rabbis and our Torah the way we trust ways. But here was this incredible thing. Who are we and where we're going to get to and how? And when our focus is focused on something that says to you, this is where you're going, all in the direction of where, all in the direction of getting to be the very best that you're able to be. And it's only about you, because your test is the only one that you have to pass. That belongs to no one else. It's just about us being focused and staying on the right path. Now, it's actually a beautiful parsha this week, so we can't actually forget that all of our shvatim, all the tribes, are actually mentioned, excepting Binyamin, and are named in this week's parsha. And all that we've gone through, that we watch and we see all of our beautiful women who are really our role models, the Rivka, the Leah, the Sarah, and we are getting to this beautiful place where the Torah is explaining to us and telling us a story that says, look into the stories of everything that we are given and see. Why? Because every single thing that is written for us in the Torah is pertinent to something that is happening to you, to me, to each and every one of us individually on a slightly deeper level. But the story of what took place then is taking place now. And when we look at the Torah as being that whatever is relevant to the first time that it was put down and given to us is still relevant to each and every one of us today. Each and every one of us now, has its relevance. And that's why when we learn lessons from the Sedra, from the Parsha, we see that by looking inside the Parsha, if you're feeling maybe that, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing now, where's my life taking me? Maybe this Shabbos, and I'll say Friday night because Shabbos is so short, and I think that we're going to be lighting candles. I should have checked before I say I think, but I think it might even be just before 4 o'clock. It's definitely 10 minutes earlier than the 4:10 or 11 that it was last week. Which means the one thing that I would say to everybody is if you can have your Shabbos table ready and set with your Shabbos candles out and ready, that's at least stage number one, okay? That's our Erev Shabbos. And I can tell you one thing for sure, that it is definitely something that gives me a little bit of calm when I go to bed, whatever time it is in the morning. And I can see my Shabbos table is set, my candles are out, and then we're feeling it's already there, and we don't have to worry about those things. And anything that we do before, we don't have to worry about now. So Samantha, who would usually be with us, and I always thank her for her beautiful shir, Le'ilui Nishmas, her father is out for dinner for her mother-in-law's birthday. And I actually did say that I thought that it was more important that she goes out for dinner with her mother-in-law than come and join us here. I don't know what everybody else said, but she said she'll listen to the recording. So that's where we are. Okay, so one of the things that we are going to be able to learn in this week's parsha, okay, is Rabbi Twersky. I was explaining to somebody today that when a person leaves their Torah behind, okay, so Rabbi Twersky probably hears his name from me a couple of times, a good few times in a day. And I say that makes a person still living and alive with us, even though they are not in this world physically. And what does that actually mean? What it means for us is that when we have anything that we leave behind, when it's used and spoken about and done, it's as if we're still here living, because it's the lessons that we're teaching. And one of the many of the beautiful things that that Dalia spoke about her mom is that there's one thing for sure that you can't change. The way you live is the name that you're going to leave behind. Okay, and we understand and we know, and Pirkei Avot tell us exactly what it is, but you can't make yourself another good name. We have to live the life that we want in order to leave behind the lessons that we want to be able to teach and share. And it's how we live and who we are that leaves behind what it is that is a lesson that we're going to be able to learn from. Someone came round to my house today and we're gobsmacked that my table was already set for Shabbos. Deborah, that's not gobsmacked, that's very good. And you know what, when they're trying to set their table last minute tomorrow afternoon, just before they're lighting their candles, they'll say, oh, you know what, Deborah's table was already set before. So one of the things we do tease my Dalia about is that before Rosh Hashanah, the table's set like a week before, waiting and ready and waiting. But it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So Rabbi Twersky brings down from the pasuk that tells us that Yaakov went out from Beersheba and he went towards Haran. Okay, he went towards Haran. And Rashi tells us that the first part of this verse looks as though it's superfluous, because the statement that he says that he went towards Haran tells us that he left where he was in Beersheba. We know that if you're going towards somewhere, as we've just learned now, okay, although we're not talking about the physical, we're speaking about the spiritual, now it's the physical space. When you're going towards somewhere, obviously you left somewhere else, okay? So we've left our challenges of our midas that we're rectifying and rectified, and we're working towards that beautiful thing of creating space, of knowing that we're becoming better people and closer to Hashem. That's our personal objective, okay? Now, Rashi tells us that the first phrase indicates that Yaakov's leaving Beersheba was a very significant event because his absence had an impact upon those that he left behind. That's an incredible thing. His absence had an impact on those that he left behind. When people make a difference in the world, the impact is greater, okay? As long as a tzaddik, as long as a holy person is present, he is the luminary, the light of a community. And when he leaves, his influence is missed, okay? For those of us that know, when Rav Weingarten left Golders Green, and sometimes we're at a wedding and he's there, you say, oh, his presence is missed, okay? When we talk about people and they still living and they just move place, their presence is missed. Okay, so he says, why then? The Chasam Sofer asks, do we not find a similar expression in reference to Abraham's departure? Okay, because it's only talking about, it's not telling us when Yaakov left, he was missed. Why not Abraham? And he says like this. He says, Abraham, of course, was a great luminary. The Chasam Sofer answers that Yaakov left behind Yitzchak and Rebecca. Yitzchak and Rivka left behind, and they appreciated his greatness and his spirituality. They missed the light of his spiritual input and the light of truth that radiated from them. However, in the saddest part of what we learn is that Abraham resided in a community of idolaters. So imagine if somebody's telling you not to be doing what you're doing all the time. Are you going to miss him when he leaves? You'll say, oh, thank God he's gone. He doesn't have to stop telling me not to do all this stuff. Okay. So he says, what have we done? At least they were aware. They did not have the awareness of his greatness, and they did not appreciate his teachings. Therefore, as great as Abraham was, as great as he was, his absence had no impact. Maybe just gave them a feeling, he's gone, let it be. We as Jews, are very blessed, and we have been very blessed throughout our unbelievable history. The tzaddikim, and I'll say the tzadkaniyot and tzaddikim, we're talking about both female and male righteous holy people in every generation, people that we could all learn from, people that we sometimes speak about and wish that they were here with us. We realize how much we miss them, we miss their leadership, we miss their guidance, we just miss them being here. And those are the people that we're talking about. And what we can see, that at the reflection, what we see is that really the lack of what we've missed now, that is something that one of the people that we always talk about, and when I speak in my bat mitzvah programs and classes, and I ask the girls before they come, I tell them, think, and I want you to write 2 sentences, and they're going to tell me when they get to the bat mitzvah class, who's your role model? Who's your role model? And why? And we have to think about that. Who's your role model and why? And it's something for each and every one of us to think about. But the most fascinating thing that comes out from asking them, who's your role model and why? That they're very few, I've never actually, maybe once or twice, somebody has actually said that their role model is someone who became wealthy. But even if it's not somebody from the Torah, somebody Jewish, the role models are people who made a difference and made other people's lives better and easier. They looked up to those people that made a difference in the world, and they gave a lot of charity, that made money but gave it away. People that are kind and sensitive, people that learned and brought wisdom to the world in the science world that could help people medically. And kind people. It was amazing. It was incredible actually to listen to all, and how many girls, their mothers, their grandmothers, right? These are the role models, but what were they role modeling? That they care about them, that they look after them, that it's all about the connection and the relationship. It was never about things and accumulating things. One of the things that we go back to, and Rabbi Twersky teaches us, one of the lessons that we learn from this is that Avram carried a vital message, but his community was too immersed in idolatry that they didn't want to listen to him. The recognition of the one true God that actually tells them not to become idol worshippers, okay, and to change their lifestyle. They weren't interested. It was too hard a work. They wanted to stay the way they were, so they didn't listen. So Rabbi Twersky tells us sometimes we feel ourselves to also be devoid of leadership. At these times, really what we need to do is do a little bit of soul searching. Think to ourselves, what do we want? Is it possible that we actually don't ourselves even recognize the spiritual leaders of our time, because we don't want to have to make some of the changes that they want us to be making and helping us to live in a way that we should be living. When we think about who leaders are, and you know what's so amazing? Because I believe in a way that each and every one of us has their own role of what we call leadership and listening to what it is that Hashem wants us to do. And by doing it and by acting and living in that way, it helps us to be able to say, I'm really a leader. I'm a leader that Hashem has put into this world, but I have to be able to listen to my teachers, and I have to be able to learn more Torah in order to pass that on. And when we don't want to listen to that, we've got to think to ourselves, what is it that we want to do or don't want to do? You know, I asked a young girl who's learning, also we're learning just privately. She has to get points. Unfortunately, her mother passed away a number of years ago, and her father needs to get her to do some extra Jewish studies in order that they get their points, in order to get into a Jewish school. Okay, so we decided that we're going to learn some things, and let's have a look at it. We took 5 lessons, but one of the things that I asked her yesterday was, does she remember learning about something just called Natilat Yadayim in the morning, when we wash our hands after we wake up, and we wash away the spiritual, what we call Ruach Ra. And she knew the Natilat Yadayim, and she remembered that from school when she was a little girl, but when was the last time that she did it? She didn't remember. So I asked her if she thought that it was something really little that she can try to remember to do in the mornings. Why? Because it actually can change the way we see ourselves through the day. And I explained to her how to wash her hands, and her and her father went and they practiced washing their hands, and they're going to try however many times in the week, because she gets a little cube of chocolate for fulfilling her mitzvahs and counting up and doing her mitzvah of honoring her father, which means picking up the rubbish from the floor when she doesn't really want to, and the rubbish means her clothes that she doesn't really want to hang up in her cupboard. And the other thing is, now she wants to try and to do this, to wash our hands. And I said, why is it so important for us? You know, when Hashem tells us to do things, it means that we start our day, we wake up in the morning and we say, Modeh Ani, thank you, Hashem, for another opportunity in the day. What did you want me to do, Hashem? I should wash my hands. Okay. Let me go and wash my hands. Really? I wanted to have a cup of coffee that somebody from downstairs was going to bring me up in my bed without getting out of my bed. I know, but the good thing is that I don't have anybody that's going to bring me my coffee in bed before I get out of bed. So it's okay. I don't really have that one as a challenge. Okay. What's the fun of breakfast in bed when you can't get out? You've got to get out of bed. You've got to wash your hands. Okay. But what does it do for us? So the first thing that we're going to make when we come out and we wash our hands, and we can come out of the bathroom, we can make a blessing on our hands. And we can say, thank you, Hashem, for these hands. And then we learn throughout the day, and that changes my day for me, because everything I do and I have, and by me doing it, anybody around us does it, and we teach it and we learn it, because it's a focus of what we're doing. And the main focus is of where we are going to. If we understand that you're the leader where you are in your home, then that's how we have to behave. Imagine if we lived in a world, you know that in a Torah world, it's quite incredible. Just the thought, please God, of the time when we're going to live with Mashiach, and we're going to have Kohanim that do the service, and we're going to have the Levim, and then we're going to have the Yisrael. Everybody's doing their own job, and everybody's doing it well. Why? Because we're all concerned about how we behave, and we worry about, not worry, but we're concerned about making sure that we don't upset other people. And we learn all the different halachas of how we behave and what we say. And everything we do is that focus for being in a better place. And really what that means, that you're your own leader. We learn it, we revise it, we make sure that we're with it, and we make sure as well that we are going to show whoever it is that we live with that this is the way to behave, to speak, and to live. So one of the things that I don't know who I've mentioned to, but we are doing this beautiful letter and learning the letter of the Igeret HaRamban, the letter that the Ramban wrote to his son. And when you read this letter and read it again and then reread it and then read the commentaries and reread it, and sometimes when you're in a place of you want to say something like "Buh," not so pleasant and nice, and we think, hang on a second, do you remember what the Ramban told his son? Speak softly, speak gently. So whatever it is, even that you're going to say, is going to be in a softer, more gentle way. Once you start thinking about it, we might change totally, not only the tone, but what it is that we're actually going to say. And what's the most beautiful thing is the silence. But these are the tiny little lessons that are put in all the time. And when we do it and we behave with it, we become that leader. Even if nobody around you wants to listen and hear, you can still do it for yourself and continue to do it for yourself. Because why? You are only responsible for you. You make sure to look after the way you behave and speak. And then people will say, gee, how do you do that? How do you manage it? But we carry on trying and never give up. So even in this, when we see that Avram, right? Nobody wants interested in listening. I know many Avrams who live in their homes, many people who are making beautiful changes and learning more Torah and learning and keeping the beautiful positive commandments of not speaking Lashon Hara. And everybody around them in their house kind of thinks like, really? Really? But you carry on and you be the Avram. You just carry on and you do what you need to do, even if nobody else is joining you. Rest assured, Hashem's going to put you in a place the same way that he put Avram, and he's going to have people coming and saying, how do you do that? Teach me how to do that too. But it's a big responsibility that it actually comes with. So when we're really thinking about this over Shabbos, it's something that we should learn to think about and really to emulate. Now, before we make a bracha on our dough, the second load of dough, okay? Somebody has just shared this really lovely book, and I want to just share one idea from the book that we can learn and that we can think about doing something that's a very simple thing and we can all learn from. And sometimes we'll learn something that we don't feel is maybe what we need, but we can actually, when you meet somebody and you think and you share something with them because you think that that can really help that person. And it's so interesting because my friend today, Natalie Levy, sent me that story about Rabbi Sperling. And I thought it was really amazing because as soon as I heard it, as soon as I hear anything that's Kever Rachel, it's sort of like my ears go again. But then when I heard the story and how it can change our lives. So this morning with Rebbetzen, Rachel Silber in our Tehillim, anybody that knows Marcel Kaufman, she's also in Eretz Yisrael right now, and lucky everybody that is there. But Marcel's there, and Marcel is usually on our Thursday morning share, and she wanted to arrange to meet Rebbetzen Silber. So she told me last night that she met Rebbetzen Silber, and guess where she met her? She met her at Chipakol. So I said, that is so funny, you met her at Chipakol, because the first time when Rebbetzen Heller was unable to take us to Kever Rachel, I had to find somebody else to take us as our tour guide to Kever Rachel. And being a Kever Rachel tour guide is not telling the history. It's telling the spiritual essence of Rachel and how we can connect to it when we go and stand in Kever Rachel. You can't just do that with anyone. And Rebbetzen Heller said to me, go with Rachel Silber. She went to teach, and I was trying to get hold of 2 other people and Rachel Silber. And I was phoning and phoning, literally an hour. Everybody's in a class. I'm watching the time because we've got to have lunch and then get on the bus and go to Kever Rachel, from Kever Rachel back to the airport and back to England. And oh my goodness, the phone was answered. And I said, oh, Rebbetzen Silber, I wonder if you could do me a favor. Rebbetzen Heller said, you're the only person that we can go with to Kever Rachel. Can you do it? Oh, sure. When? In 10 minutes. She says, I'm actually at Chipakol. So I don't know. I said, what if we pick you up at Chipakol with all your bags, and afterwards I'll put you into a cab with all your bags and send you home in the taxi? And you know what? she said yes. And that is history. And that is what really concretized our growing learning with everything that we have with Rebbetzen Silver. So we're blessed. And she said, when Marcel said that she was coming, she said, I want to meet her at Chipoko. It's a good place for her students from England. So there you go. They went to Chipoko and then walked back to into Harnof together. So this is a lovely, lovely book. We'll talk about it another time a bit more, but it talks about the secret to miraculous salvations, okay? Something that we are all always looking for. So there's something called ordinary compassion versus great compassion. And she says in this lesson, we need to look at the deeper meaning of Hashem's compassion. Through the understanding, we should merit to boundless savings from Hashem. And the Zohar tells us that Hashem conducts the world with two types of mercy. There's a simple, ordinary compassion, and then there is Rachamim Gedolim, great compassion. How does each one work? We ourselves are responsible for the regular mercy of Hashem through doing acts of chesed. Every act of chesed you do, Samantha already spoke about you earlier. So welcome home from dinner and the chesed of taking and going with your mother-in-law. It's not chesed, it is pure joy. But it's still an act of chesed to go out for birthdays and especially on Thursday night, okay? So what is this chesed? When we give the chesed of giving honor to other people, and our rabbis teach us, okay, that we can also awaken the regular rachamim through when our words of tefillah. When is the rachamim opened that we all need so dearly? What we call at the time of judgment, when it comes out and people, we see the challenges that everybody is going through. If a person is worthy with chesed, then really what happens is it is overcome and Hashem will come and help that person in the beautiful Rahmanut. He's going to have mercy on him. And we will sometimes see those things when we think, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And suddenly it just all happens and falls into place. But they're also different kinds. And when Hashem, we have to daven and we have to ask him that we're holding onto the rope. And the Zohar actually tells us that one of the things that we can do is to make sure, okay, to just make sure that we have compassion on other people, okay, to have Rahmanut and compassion on others. And because this is such a huge thing, but I wanted to make sure that I want to just be able to share this beautiful idea of when we look at other people, when we do chesed for other people, Hashem does chesed for us. When we are more merciful on other people, we give them much more of the benefit of the doubt, and we allow them to also make mistakes, then this is what I'm hoping, that Hashem will have his Rahmanut, his Rachamim, his mercy on me, and allow people to be able to see that even my mistake of what happened and how I could possibly forget about joining a program, that they will have that same kind of Rahmanut on me. And maybe my lesson maybe needs to be that I have to look a little bit more carefully at other people with more of a side of Rahmanut, of being forgiving, and of in a compassionate, not merciful, in a compassionate way. So let's all look inside ourselves at this beautiful time and this week of Kislev. This week was also the Yortzat of my beautiful grandmother, Granny Cynthia's mother, from a chaya, and we have this thing every year. We say, because was it from a chaya or chaya from a bas Betzalel, and our granddaughter Chaya was named for Granny Faye, from a chaya. She wasn't going to get the frumma, but she definitely got the chaya, and Baruch Hashem, she is beautifully frum. So we have absolutely no complaints of that. But she also was born with the beautiful same gingy hair as both my mother and my grandmother. So we can see in a way how Hashem really brings everything together. And sometimes we won't see it for a long time. But sometimes we see that this is a beautiful opportunity. And we look and we say, with everyone that we know who needs the Aliyah Neshamas, for everyone that we know that needs savings and Yeshuas, let's just bring it in and hold on very tight to the rope that is going to be waiting to bring us to the time of Mashiach. Because I can tell you one thing's for sure, that rope is swinging very hard. Okay, hold on a little bit longer and we're going to be there. I'm going to bring my dough. We're going to be mafish challah, and then onto your cooking or bed or wherever you need to be. 1 minute. Okay. Okay, this is the 6-seated one. Yeah, I've got something here. Okay, let's go. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu, b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu, la'afrish challah min ha'isa, harei zu challah. In the zechus of the mitzvah of a precious challah, may we be zoiche to all be given the internal energy and spiritual connection that we always look to where we are going forward to. That we remind ourselves that everything that we do, we're doing because Hashem has told us that this is what we need to do for the good of ourselves. And to bring Mashiach closer, that is exactly what you, me, and everyone together is doing. I want to also just add, and I'm just quickly searching for it. That's my, Sharon. Are you there with us still, Sharon?
Yes, yes.
I can see you. Can you please, Yaakov, is it Yaakov Yosef?
Yaakov Yosef ben Leah.
Thank you. So Yaakov Yosef ben Leah should have a refuah shalema.
Thank you so much.
She should just be, and it should just be that you continue to have the mitzvah of kivud av for a long time to come. Okay, here's wishing everybody a beautiful Shabbat. Thank you for being with us. A good Shabbos, a Shabbat Shalom, whichever way we want to be able to make it. And just remember what time we're going to be lighting Shabbos candles, so that it's not a shock that it's in the middle of the afternoon. And we should just merit to bring only joy and simcha to everyone and to everything. And thank you for being with us, and thank you for sharing. And we should just continue to share the simchas, the nachas, and also the refuahs for all, for Rafal Arya ben Zipporah and Yeshua's. Okay.
Amen. Thank you.